Good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well ahead of the budget session of Parliament, Lok Sabha Speaker has convened an all-party meeting today. That will be our big focus. Also, we continue tracking developments in Pampore, where the operation to eliminate militants which are holed up inside the government building is still on. We'll get you all the details on that as well. Let us begin with the headlines. Government gives in to demands of Jats, willing to accommodate demand for quota in OBC category. Committee set up under Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu. Haryana government to bring bill in the upcoming assembly session. Lok Sabha Speaker calls an all-party meet ahead of budget session. Parliamentary Affairs Minister also calls all-party meet of both houses, aim at a smooth running of Parliament. Armed forces lose 5 men in encounter in Pampore. One militant also gunned down. Anti-insurgency grid in Jammu put on high alert. Prime Minister launches scathing attack on opponents, alleges conspiracies are being spun to destabilize government and defame him. And nearly 140 people killed in Islamic State bombings in Syrian cities of Homs and Damascus. Latest carnage after move on cessation of hostilities. Our top focus, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan will be holding a meeting of leaders of all parties on the eve of the budget session today. The meeting comes after a similar meeting by Rajya Sabha Chairman. Now, the session is expected to be stormy, with the opposition united over various issues like the JNU Rao, Rohit Vemula's suicide and the Pathankot terror attack. The government, that is pushing for crucial legislations, including the GST, is looking for cooperation from the opposition. Now, Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu will also hold an all-party meet ahead of the budget session, and this meeting will be of leaders of both houses today. Meanwhile, news from Haryana. Well, the Jat agitation that has claimed 12 lives is likely to end soon. Now, the government on Sunday decided to bring a bill for granting OBC status to the Jats. Well, the decision was taken at a high-level meeting chaired by Rajnath Singh last evening. Now, a committee headed by Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu will also be set up to look into the Jats' demands.
हरियाणा में जाट आरक्षण का अभी आने वाले सत्र में जाट आरक्षण दिया जाएगा। सरकार जाट आरक्षण देगी।
8 days after violent Jat agitation crippled life in Haryana, government striking a conciliatory note, giving in to the demands of the community. This was announced after a meeting of Jat leaders with Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh. The state government said it would give them reservation by presenting a bill in the coming budget session of Assembly. A high-level committee has been formed under Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu to see how to include Jats as part of OBCs.
कि अभी एक कमेटी बनाई गई है, जिसके अध्यक्ष हमारे कैबिनेट के वरिष्ठ मंत्री श्री वेंकैया जी नायडू हैं, और यह कहा गया है कि जितना जल्द से जल्द हो सके इस संबंध में वह इस समस्या का समाधान करने के लिए एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रिपोर्ट वह प्रस्तुत कर दें। तो सरकार की मंशा पूरी तरह से स्पष्ट है कि जिन मुद्दों को लेकर यह सब सारा कुछ हरियाणा राज्य में हो रहा है, उसका समाधान जल्द से जल्द निकाला जाए।
After the announcement late evening on Sunday, blockades were partially lifted from Panipat, Jind, Kaithal, Bhiwani districts, along with that from National Highway 1. During the day, protests had spread wider, with Jats blocking the Shimla Highway near Panchkula and the Bahadurgarh Road to Haryana from Delhi. Curfew was in place at several towns and districts, including Rohtak, Bhiwani, Sonipat, Jhajjar, Hisar and Hansi. Several trains running across the state were cancelled, and Delhi is witnessing a massive water crisis due to the blockade. Shrikant Jadhav, the Inspector General of Rohtak, the district that saw most violence, has been transferred. 12 people died and 150 have been injured over the 8 days of protests.
अभी अपील कर रहा हूँ, सोनीपत में जितने भी हमारे आदमी वहाँ लगे हुए हैं, उन सबसे अपील कर रहा हूँ कि वो पूरे हरियाणा के आदमियों को संदेश दे रहा हूँ कि वो सब अपने अपने आरक्षण का जो जितनी समितियां हैं उनको खत्म करके अपने घर पे चले जाएं।
With the announcement, semblance of normalcy is expected across the state. The agitating members of the Jat community have been demanding their inclusion in the OBC category and thereby reservation in government jobs. The erstwhile Bhupinder Singh Hooda government had given special backward caste to Jats in 2013, but it was stayed by the Punjab and Haryana High Court last year. The Supreme Court too had rejected inclusion of Jats into the central OBC list. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the latest that we are getting is now the water supply in Delhi is also likely to resume because the army has begun repair work in the Munich Canal. Let's move on in the bulletin now. Well, the security forces have suffered 5 casualties in the encounter that is raging in Pampore in South Kashmir. Now, 3 to 4 heavily armed militants are still holed up inside a multi-story government building since Saturday. The counter-insurgency grid in Jammu has also been put on high alert.
Heavily armed militants holed up inside the building of the Entrepreneurship Development Institute on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway in Pampore in South Kashmir since Saturday.
वहाँ पर ऑपरेशन जारी है। हमने पूरे बिल्डिंग को एनसर्कल कर रखा है और बिल्डिंग से कोई बाहर नहीं आ सकता है। यह बात वस्तुतः सत्य है कि ये बहुत बड़ा क्षेत्र है, बहुत बड़ी बिल्डिंग्स हैं और यहाँ पर मिलिटेंट्स को एक सरप्राइज का एलिमेंट है, मिलिटेंट्स को एक एडवांटेज है कि वो हाइट पर हैं, परंतु मैं आपको इस बात को आश्वस्त करना चाहूँगा, इस ऑपरेशन में हम सारे मिलिटेंट्स को न्यूट्रलाइज करने में हम सफल होंगे।
3 army commandos, including 2 captains, killed on Sunday in the fierce fighting. Captain Pavan Kumar and Captain Tushar Mahajan, along with Jawan Om Prakash of the elite para-commando units, were killed in gun battle. 1 militant was also eliminated. The terrorists have been holed up in the building since Saturday afternoon after they attacked a CRPF convoy, killing 2 jawans and a civilian and injuring 9 other jawans.
एक मिलिटेंट की कंफर्म हुआ है, एक मिलिटेंट मारा गया है, ये कंफर्म हो गया है।
और सर जो इंजरीज हुई है, फेटल इंजरीज जो आज हुई है, उसमें कितनी तादाद है जो सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस की तरफ से नुकसान हुआ?
आज टोटल 3 हमारी कैजुअलिटीज हुई हैं आर्मी की। तीनों आर्मी के 2 ऑफिसर्स हैं, 1 जवान।
टोटल कितने हो गए फेटल सर?
टोटल 5 कैजुअलिटीज हुई हैं, जिसमें 3 आर्मी और 2 CRPF।
तो अभी
Nearly 100 civilians, staff and students of the Entrepreneurship Development Institute were evacuated to safety by the security forces from the building once the siege began. The multi-storied government building caught fire as the encounter continued till late last night. 3 to 4 heavily armed terrorists are suspected to be holed up inside.
It's very unfortunate. I mean, these attacks are still happening and it will take time.
Security forces have been put on high alert across the Jammu region. The counter-insurgency grid in Jammu has been put on high alert, and security has been tightened at all vital installations, including the airport and the railway station in the region. The quick reaction teams of the police have been kept on standby, and personnel at all checkposts in the region have been asked to remain alert. All entry points to Jammu from the border areas have been sealed, and vehicles entering the city are being checked thoroughly. The Border Security Force too is maintaining a tight vigil. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to some other news now. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched a scathing attack on opponents during a rally in Odisha. He alleged that there is a concerted effort to destabilize his government and defame him. The Prime Minister, however, assured that his government is committed to reforms at all costs.
Prime Minister launching a counter-attack against detractors, alleging disgruntled NGOs and black marketers were conspiring to destabilize the government and defame him.
पहले विदेशों से धन आता था, कुछ एनजीओ को हमने कहा भाई आए भले आए, हिसाब तो दो, लेकिन जब से हमने हिसाब मांगना शुरू किया तो ये सारे इकट्ठे हो गए और सुबह शाम षड्यंत्र करते हैं कि मोदी को कैसे खत्म किया जाए। आपने मुझे चुना है इन बीमारियों से देश को बाहर लाने के लिए।
The Prime Minister reiterating at the rally in Odisha that he will not bow to any such agenda. Earlier, the Prime Minister was in Chhattisgarh, where he launched the ambitious Rurban mission for developing 300 villages across the country as urban growth centers. The Prime Minister said that 50 million houses would be built for the poor by 2022 under a government scheme.
हमने सपना देखा है कि जब आजादी के 75 साल हो तब हिंदुस्तान के गरीब को भी अपना घर हो। 2022 तक 5 करोड़ घर बनाने।
After his Odisha stop, the Prime Minister flew to Kolkata, where he inaugurated the centenary celebration of Sri Gaudiya Mutt and Mission. The Prime Minister underlined the importance of the Bhakti movement in freedom struggle. He said that India is not a country bound by communities, but by the unbreakable bond of spirituality. Prime Minister Modi arrived in his Lok Sabha constituency Varanasi last night. He will be taking part in the birth anniversary celebrations of the 15th century Dalit poet and mystic Ravidas, besides attending the convocation ceremony at the Banaras Hindu University today. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from the national capital now, where a late-night standoff unfolded in Jawaharlal Nehru University as 5 students who were accused of sedition and missing for days surfaced on the campus. However, entry inside the campus was denied to the Delhi police, who reached there on receiving the information. Meanwhile, the Apex Court has agreed to hear a plea seeking contempt action against jailed JNU-SU President Kanhaiya Kumar, former DU lecturer S.A.R. Gilani and a few others.
Omar Khalid, Anant Prakash Narayan, Ashutosh Kumar, Rama Naga and Anirban Bhattacharya resurfaced at the JNU campus late on Sunday night. The 5 students charged with sedition have been absconding since 9th of February event in the campus in which pro-Afzal and anti-India slogans were raised. A police team was rushed to the campus on receiving the information but not allowed entry into the varsity. A list of around 50 people associated with the 9th of February event has been prepared by the police. Police have also asked the varsity administration to forward a copy of their internal inquiry report. They also questioned 2 friends of Omar Khalid on Sunday. However, the absconding students maintain that they will not surrender but will allow police to come and arrest them.
दिल्ली इस विश्वास के साथ आया हूं कि अगर वो दोषी है तो आप निश्चित रूप से उसको सजा दें, और अगर वो निर्दोष है, जब आपके पास कोई पर्याप्त सबूत नहीं है तो बिना कारण उस पर इतना संगीन मामला लगाना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा अपराध है.
The JNU Students' Union has written to the National Human Rights Commission seeking intervention in ensuring safety of the family of Omar Khalid, who is being searched in connection with a sedition case.
मुझे लगता है पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज वकालत ना करें कि कोई इनोसेंट है या कोई मुल्जिम है. उनको बाहर निकलना चाहिए, और चाहे वो उमर खालिद है, चाहे वो जो है कन्हैया है या बाकी लोग हैं, इनको अदालत में जाके इनका फैसला सुनाया जाए. मीडिया के जरिए या पॉलिटिशियंस के जरिए फैसला नहीं होना चाहिए.
On the other hand, thousands of people joined ex-servicemen and took out a march to protest against anti-national slogans raised at the JNU on Sunday.
इसका उद्देश्य ये है जी कि जहां पर भारत के अंदर जो लोग रहते हैं, अगर वो पाकिस्तानियों की मदद करने के लिए या भारत के जो गद्दार हैं उनको साथ देंगे तो हम उसके खिलाफ खड़े हैं सभी.
Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu has said that the government is ready to discuss the JNU row in the upcoming budget session. The opposition and the centre are at loggerheads over the JNU issue, with the opposition demanding JNU-SU President Kanhaiya Kumar's release. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has said that a mere registration of an FIR in the Pathankot terror attack case is not enough. Parrikar making it clear that Pakistan should do serious investigation to India's satisfaction. Pakistani authorities have lodged an FIR in connection with the Pathankot terror attack without naming JEM chief Masood Azhar, who India has accused of having masterminded the strike. Parrikar also ruled out withdrawing army from Siachen, a call often made by Pakistan, saying that no such question arises, and noted that India occupies the highest peaks there. He also asserted that India will hit back at terror groups in their own language and that those who inflicted pain on India will have to pay. Meanwhile, India has also asked Pakistan to inform it at least 5 days prior to a planned visit by Pakistani investigators to inspect the site of the Pathankot terror attack.
एक खत मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फॉरेन अफेयर्स के जरिए लिखा जा चुका है हिंदुस्तान को कि हमारी SIT हिंदुस्तान और खासतौर पे पठानकोट विजिट करना चाहेगी इस तफ्तीश को आगे बढ़ाने में. उसका जवाब दूसरी तरफ से ये आया है कि उन्होंने इससे इत्तफाक किया है. मगर साथ ही साथ कहा है कि जब भी टीम का आने का प्रोग्राम हो उसे 5 दिन पहले हमें आगाह किया जाए।
Well, a very short break in here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Today we bring to you the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2015.
It will give one clear platform to all the creditors, partnership firms, individuals who have been facing any problem in terms of bankruptcy.
The entire process is now creditor-centric rather than debtor-centric.
They are changing the process from a judicial process to a market-driven commercial process.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Now, big news coming in from Tamil Nadu, where 10 dissident MLAs in the assembly, including 8 from the main opposition DMDK, have tendered their resignation to the Speaker. The Speaker has accepted the resignations. The move by the MLAs comes before the assembly elections, and it has ensured that the DMDK chief Vijay Kant has been stripped of his status as the opposition leader in the House. The DMDK's strength in the assembly has been reduced to 20 from the present 28. Now, with no other party having the 24 members needed to be given leader of the opposition post, the assembly currently does not have one. Now, DMK has 23 MLAs in the 234-member House. Actor politician Vijay Kant, who made his assembly debut in 2006 as the then lone DMDK MLA, became the opposition leader after the 2011 elections when his party bagged 29 seats. Now, the latest development comes as the state prepares for the assembly polls later this year. DMDK is being wooed by the DMK Congress Combined, BJP and the four-party bloc People's Welfare Front for striking an electoral pact. And now we'll look at the events lined up for the day in the day ahead. Union Minister of Water Resources Uma Bharti will inaugurate Jal Manthan 2 today in New Delhi. The main theme of the two-day event is Integrated Approach for Sustainable Water Management. The event will have consultations and discussions on a river basin approach for sustainable development, water management and a need for a national legislation on water. A Congress Working Committee meeting later today is expected to set the tone for the budget session of Parliament. The party is agitated over a number of issues, including the JNU row. The meeting is being held to discuss the current political situation, according to Party General Secretary Janardhan Dwivedi. The 5th Car-Free Delhi is being observed in the national capital. The Car-Free Day is from Munirka Tea Point to Hayat Hotel Tea Point on Vivekanand Marg. It will start from 8 in the morning to 4 in the evening. The event began with a cycle rally led by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. Delhi Cabinet Ministers and Aam Aadmi Party legislators also participated in the rally. UN's Syria envoy Staffan de Mistura will hold talks with Syria's foreign minister. The official said that the talks were a follow-up to the Munich meeting in which world powers agreed to a cessation of hostilities that would be letting in humanitarian aid to be delivered in Syria. The talks will include a discussion of the resumption of peace talks set for Geneva on 25th of February. A hearing on the 1984 riots will take place later today. The court had observed that CBI neither filled the status report nor any officer on its behalf was present before the court to inform it about the progress in the investigation. The court has ordered the SP of the CBI to be present in the court today. Now to the big international focus now. 140 people were killed in Islamic State bombings in Syrian cities of Homs and Damascus on Sunday. The latest carnage comes even as the US Secretary of State John Kerry and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov reached a provisional agreement on a ceasefire in that country. Here is more.
Buildings reduced to rubble, charred vehicles, blood on streets. Syrians once again became the target of IS bombings and propaganda war. A series of IS bombings rocked Syrian cities' homes in Damascus on Sunday. Scores were killed, several injured. Bombings were targeted in the regime-controlled neighborhood that is predominantly home to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's Alawite sect. Bombings came just a day after Assad forces made advances against the Islamic State.
أنا كنت نايم فوق بالبيت، سمعت صوت الانفجار الأول اللي هو هون، هذا الانفجار الأول اللي هون. وبعدين بعد حوالي 5 دقائق واقف هون أما مطلب إسعاف، فطلع انفجار ثاني هون بالمنطقة هاي اللي هون، اللي عند السيارة هاي. فجر حاله الشخص. بعد حوالي 5 دقائق أو 7 دقائق، إجى الشخص الثالث فجر حاله هنيك بالنقطة هذيك، وأنا واقف هون أما أتفرج عليه بعدني يعني.
The US Secretary of State John Kerry said a ceasefire is closer than ever, following a telephonic conversation with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. For his part, Assad hopes to be remembered as the man who saved Syria. Assad said he is ready for a ceasefire, but on one condition: terrorists should not use a lull in fighting to their advantage. He also said refugees can return with no fear of reprisal.
There is aid now getting through. The modalities for a cessation of hostilities are now being completed. In fact, we are closer to a ceasefire today than we have been. And I anticipate that our presidents, President Obama and President Putin, may well speak somewhere in the next days or so in order to try to complete this task.
As I said, it's not only about Syria, it's about the rest of the world. First of all, Europe should lift the embargo on the Syrian people, not the Syrian. They don't make embargo on the Syrian government. It's against the Syrian people. Second, Turkey should stop sending terrorists to Syria. Third, as a government, we have to fight the terrorists, definitely, and we have to keep the living moving forward by any means in order to allow the Syrians to stay in their country.
According to a UN report, over 2 lakh people have been killed, nearly 1 million injured, and more than half of Syrians are displaced since the civil war began in 2011. The only ray of hope now is the much talked about cessation of hostilities, which still seems to be a far cry. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in more international news, in an unprecedented turn of events in the US presidential race, Republican candidate Jeb Bush has withdrawn his campaign, ending what had been one of the most promising and well-funded campaigns. The former Florida governor was considered a frontrunner for his party's nomination, but following 3 dismal performances in Iowa, New Hampshire and then South Carolina, Jeb seems to have read the writing on the wall.
The Bush family's dream of an unprecedented 3rd stint at the White House was shattered as Jeb Bush bowed out of the US presidential race on Sunday. His decision came after a series of dismal performances in the primaries and a sluggish campaign.
The people of Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina have spoken, and I really respect their decision. So tonight, I am suspending my campaign.
The son of former President George H.W. Bush and brother of former President George W. Bush, Jeb entered the 2016 campaign as the favorite, but was unable to convert a sizable fundraising advantage into success at the polls. He even robbed his elder brother, who made his first public political campaign rally after leaving the White House on the 20th of January 2009, but did not manage to get enough votes. His disappointing finish in South Carolina, a distant 4th at 7.8% votes behind Donald Trump, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, became the final straw for his floundering campaign. In an emotional speech, the Florida governor announced his suspension from the race while congratulating other competitors.
I congratulate my competitors that are remaining on the island on their success for a race that has been hard fought, just as the contest for the presidency should be, because it is a tough job.
Meanwhile, the other Republican, Donald Trump, cemented his status as the man to beat for his party's nomination. He easily defeated Florida Senator Marco Rubio and Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who were in a close fight for the 2nd place.
A number of the pundits said, well, if a couple of the other candidates dropped out, if you add their scores together, it's going to equal Trump. Right? These geniuses, they're geniuses. They don't understand that as people drop out, I'm going to get a lot of those votes also. You don't just add them together.
In the Democratic contest, Hillary Clinton beat Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in a tight race in Nevada.
I am so thrilled and so grateful to all of my supporters out there. Some may have doubted us, but we never doubted each other. And this one's for you.
Results of both Nevada and South Carolina will be key ahead of the Super Tuesday round on the 1st of March, when a dozen more states make their choice. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here is a wrap of some more international stories in World Wrap. The man accused in the Michigan killings, Jason Brian Dalton, is an Uber driver. He killed 6 people and injured 2 others in a shooting rampage on Saturday in Kalamazoo. According to officials, he picked up and dropped off passengers between shootings. Police also found weapons from his car. However, they are still investigating the motive really behind the killings. Exit polls suggest Bolivian President Evo Morales has lost a referendum to serve a 4th term in office. Now, one of the exit polls suggests 52.3% people voted against the proposal to amend the constitution, while another suggests it was 51%. If adopted, it would allow Morales to remain in power until 2025. However, the Bolivian opposition said that such a move would be undemocratic. In a major blow to British Prime Minister David Cameron, the London Mayor Boris Johnson campaigned for a Brexit on Sunday. Johnson said that Cameron had failed to deliver fundamental reforms with an EU deal which was struck on Friday. Britain will go for a referendum later in 23rd of June to decide whether to stay back in the European Union or not. The radioactive material that was missing in Iraq was found dumped near a petrol station in the Iraqi town of Zubair. It was reportedly stolen early in November 2015. Officials breathed a sigh of relief as they were suspecting that it could have ended up in the hands of Islamic State. The material was found in a protective case and was undamaged. Fiji has begun a massive cleanup drive today after one of the most powerful storms hit the island nation. Heavy storms flattened remote villages and cut off communications. At least 10 people were killed in the storm-related incidents. Aid agencies have warned of widespread health crisis as well. On the sporting action now in Sports Beat. England's women cricket team added the T20 series to their one-day success over South Africa by winning the deciding match in Johannesburg. Sierra Taylor hit 60 off 40 balls, and despite losing 3 wickets in 8 balls, England chased 132 with 27 balls left. South Africa lost to England by 4 wickets. Australian Nick Kyrgios claimed the first ATP title of his career with a straight sets win over Croatian Marin Cilic at the Marseille Open. Kyrgios hit 17 aces in a victory as he finished the week without dropping a set or losing a single service game. The world number 41 beat top 10 players including Richard Gasquet and Thomas Berdych in the quarter and the semi-finals. South Africa swept to a comprehensive 9-wicket victory over England in the second T20 to seal a 2-0 series, with AB de Villiers smashing 71 off 29 balls as the hosts chased down 172 with 5.2 overs to spare in Johannesburg. This defeat was England's 5th in succession, and it means that they ended a tour with losses in both the one-day and a T20 series. Football, Chelsea swept aside a below-strength Manchester City team to reach the FA Cup quarter-finals. Eden Hazard curled in a free kick and Perraud's header trooped over City keeper to complete an emphatic win for Chelsea. Chelsea will now travel to Everton in the quarter-finals. That's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.